We're in investors now, guys. This is when you're going to be making a lot of money. But at the same time, do know these people are extremely demanding. So, little happy balance. We can do it. Let's go ahead and get started with the basics. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Anno 1800 Beginner's Guide series. It's been picking up little by little. I think it's because this is the spot that a lot of people like to focus on with guides the most, because this is a very difficult stage to get to and manage properly. But I'm going to go over every little bits and pieces of these investors so you guys know, like, this is what to do, this is what not to do. In my opinion, of course, it's really up to you at the end of the day. This game is very much, you need to try it to learn as well as experiment. It works for me to go through it these particular ways. So I'm just giving you some building blocks to work on. So right now, what we're doing is a couple of things. The first thing is that we are actually taking one of my ships of the line over to this island. I said I was going to go to this one in the last episode for an industrial island, but I actually decided against it. The reason for that is Benta is right in between me, and I do not want to have any form of issue with regards to getting my very important goods over to my main island. So that's why I'm going to go over here and colonize this one in a hot minute. Before we do that, I wanted to go over the investors themselves. So, if we look at the stuff that they require, notice they no longer need canned food, but at the same time, they also do want spectacles and coffee. Coffee is one of the goods that they go through a considerable amount. So I'm giving you a little bit of a heads up that your New World coffee production must be stellar, okay? And right now, if we were to go over here and look at how much coffee we have in our stockpile, it's 337, and that is because the actual consumption of this is quite high. It's on the higher end. There are ways of actually reducing this with particular items, specialists, buildings, but the -3 for what we have right now is actually not too bad. Later on, you can see this go up into like 20s, 30s, 40s. They can go through a lot of coffee. It's kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, they are producing 8 investors for us, along with having some coins. 58 coins is pretty substantial, because if we were to go over here, notice that none of the stuff the engineers are giving us, like with regard, except for the fur coats themselves. With the coffee, they're only giving us 23 coins. These guys are paying us freaking 58. So this is when you're gonna make money. This is when your royal taxes, which are absolutely terrible game mechanic, are not going to be as debilitating as they normally would be. But what you're really focusing on apart from this is also their happiness needs. So in this regard, penny farthings, pocket watches, and the bank are the most important ones that they give you to start off. These two are somewhat on the difficulty level of medium to get going. The reason for this is maybe the penny farthings a little bit more. Penny farthings, the problem with this is if we actually go over to the investors, we don't have it unlocked quite yet. But what they require is steel and caoutchouc. Caoutchouc is a resource that's farmed in the New World. So for all intents and purposes, we could go over here to Andrest, and instead of having this one be grain, we can actually swap it out to caoutchouc here and have these guys working. And that's actually a really good cheese idea, because the hacienda completely negates every single one of the fertilities here. So you can always do this if you want to get caoutchouc production going a little bit faster, right? But in the grand scheme of things, the bank should be sufficient enough to start you out with. The next one that you really want to work towards is the members club. The members club is very similar to that of a theater, and it's just literally a building that we're going to put down. So we're going to actually start upgrading a little bit more of our engineers when we actually have the time to do so. Right now, we don't have enough steel beams because we're not producing anything. So what we actually need to do is go and purchase some from Archie. And I already brought most of them over here. So we're going to go ahead and colonize this island. Goldfort, I'll probably rename it later. But I'm going to take these steel beams out of here, and I'm going to bring the bricks back, because apparently we don't need either of them. over to our main island over here. And I'm pretty sure I'm not sure where my flagship is. Totally forgot. Are you over here? Yeah, you're over here. Great. So let's go ahead and take you back. Let's actually take you to Archie's home, because we're going to get some more steel beams. And while that's happening, I guess I can also take Mothership of the Line and do the same. These things are very slow. Like, at the end of the day, you don't really want to be trading with these things. Hey, there's a free oil, or not a free oil tanker, but an oil tanker you can purchase. If you definitely always check with Archie and check with Isabel, because they will always have some ships available for purchase. So, like, there's a clipper over here, there's a clipper over there, a monitor over here, a quest right there. It's just a nice little way of getting some additional ships. But back on point, what should you really be focusing on with regards to the investors at this point? Well, one of the easier goods that you can kind of try to get stabilized is champagne. Now, we don't actually have champagne here. The only reason why champagne is being provided to them is because we actually did have events in which our crop farms were giving us passive champagne every now and then, along with a bunch of chocolate, right? Champagne is a relatively simple chain to get, up and running, because you're just going to need glass, but the vineyard fertility is going to be the difficult one to find. So if we were to look at our different islands, so Messina doesn't have anything, Capua does, and apparently there's a riot happening in here, which I had no idea about. Go ahead and crack down on that little situation. Capua does have the capability of actually having vineyard fertility stuff here, so we can go ahead and get some of these vineyards going. They are slow, so again, we are going to have to bring some tractors over here in order to get this production going. But the actual champagne cellars themselves are not too bad. With electricity, these things will actually be producing 1 ton of champagne every 15 seconds. So that is why it's important to invest in getting your crop farm, especially with the vineyards, to actually have some tractors to them, because they'll be a lot faster. Plus, the extra goods are always a plus. And along with that, the next thing is Cigars. Cigars is a chain that's 100% made in the New World. 100%. The reason for that is you're going to actually have to grow the tobacco leaves themselves. And the whole process of tobacco is very slow as well. We're going to go back over here to Andres. Notice we do not have the fertility here, but we have it on Fenris. So if we look over here, over to this side, because you will see it, Cigars is actually in the Obrera chain. If we go through it, you'll notice that there's 2 productions very similar to that of the champagne, but I will tell you a little bit of a heads up with this one. You're going to need wood veneers in order to actually have cigars be produced. But the main thing here is that you want to focus on the tobacco plantation. Very similar to the vineyard, this is 2-minute processing time, so it's going to take a hot minute. That's why it's good that Fenris actually does have an oil deposit, and we are producing so much oil that we can actually have a bunch of tobacco farms over here and constantly sell this stuff off. So, excuse me, 1 second, go over here, ceasefire, pay, done. So what we're going to do is we're going to have tobacco actually come from Fenris itself, as well as you can even make the cigars here. But I will tell you that there is a specialist in the game that completely cuts out this top chain in favor of just having timber. So all you would need is timber and tobacco in order to actually produce cigars. If we can try to find the lady, it would be fantastic. But sometimes it's easier said than done. So that one right there for champagne cellar is actually not too bad. I'm just rolling because I have enough money to do this with. If we do happen to come across her, then that's fantastic. This is also a really good specialist for ponchos and whatnot. Just rolling a little bit more. As you can see, the price is also going up. We don't want to see that all too much. I'm getting baited. I will do one more and call it a day. Yeah, another woman for champagne cellars. So essentially what she'll do is she'll cut out the wood veneers entirely, and that's kind of something you want to do. Wood veneers are kind of just like that weird middle ground of something like you kind of want to make and you don't want to make, mostly because of the timer. The timer is the problem. 1 minute processing time for cigars being 30 seconds. You're going to need 2 of these for 1 of these. These things are already working slow, so you want to try to maximize this as much as possible. I will also tell you that there is indeed a specialist for town halls that completely negates the use of cigars for people within the radius. That is something you can also entertain, but that is very, very later on in your campaign. So let me actually see if the other ship has arrived. This one has, so we're going to go ahead and put this stuff in here. The next good that we have here is chocolate. We actually do have a fair amount of chocolate in here from our previous festivals. Again, chocolate is another resource that's made in the old world. I'm sorry, not the old world, the new world, and that is with cacao beans. Same process, really. You actually have it in the obreros again, but in this particular situation, you're going to need sugar, and then you have cacao plantation in order to have the chocolate factory. You can't negate the top half of this particular chain, but what I will say that there is a specialist. Again, he's on the rarer end. I will collect all these specialists for you in time when we start to really go through each individual optimization. Just giving you the heads up and the basics for now. That you can actually swap out the cacao fertility and requirement for coffee beans, and then you'll be able to make the chocolate with coffee instead of cacao if you choose that particular option. Because we have coffee fertility over here, but we do have cacao fertility over here. So we could technically make it on Andras and send it over, but if you want to be lazy and wait for the future to get those particular specialists, that's also your choice. So back over to the old world, we're going to look at the last one. The last one are steam carriages. Steam carriages are, they sound kind of daunting, but they're really not. The main issue, and because I can't show you right now, later on, when we get to it, you'll see why. The timers are very weird. There's two parts to it. You have to essentially make a chassis, and then with the chassis, you're also going to need steam motors. So we are working with the steam motors, right? That's totally fine. But when it comes to the steam motors and the chassis, you can produce steam motors a lot faster than you can with the wooden chassis. And that is what causes them to actually have another form of slowing down, because the actual production of steam carriages is rather fast at around in between 30 seconds to a minute. So you're going to need a lot more of the chassis production buildings and optimize them considerably to even make enough for like 2 or 3 steam carriage actual manufactories. That's just a little difference. Also, when you're in investor tier, if you do have the lifestyle needs enabled, these are definitely ones that you want to start taking advantage of actually providing to your people. Like the easiest one on the list here is going to be furs. We haven't talked about mail yet, but we will get to that point as well. As you can see, they will pay a considerable amount for mail, local mail, regional, and overseas. These also do increase the population size of your investors and will obviously pay a lot for these goods, and that's what you want to see. As for their happiness needs, the jewelry is something that you can again negate with the use of a specialist. It's Mr. Garrick. He, if you're in proximity of a bank, essentially Mr. Garrick will fulfill the pocket watches and the jewelry requirement for your investors, which is really, really fantastic. Gramophones, they're really easy to make. They're with brass and wood, I believe. I don't typically make them a whole bunch. Just if I choose to, it's kind of just like, well, am I in the mood to make them or not? Then I'll make them. But for the most part, you don't really need to have this particular item being provided to them. Your main goals are going to be, I guess, pocket watches, because later on they become very easy. The bank and the members club. These 3 are very simple to provide. So what I want to actually do is actually get to the point of getting the members club. So we're actually going to bring the industrious down here. I'm going to fast forward it a little bit as well. And always check with Eli and Archie for items that you can use here. So like this guy, he's not too bad. Not going to really help us out with the investors, but not too bad at the same time. This one is a very good specialist. The costume designer. The replacement of cotton fabric with wool is very strong. That way, we completely negate one of the overseas transport of goods from the New World to the Old World, being the cotton fabric, and we can easily produce wool here. So then both of the items necessary to actually make fur coats are going to be coming from the Old World. There's also one other individual, which we actually do have. His name is Frankie, and I believe he's already big chilling in here. I found two of them out of nowhere. He essentially replaces furs and cotton fabric, and instead the building process is iron and wool. So then we don't have to worry about furs at all either. It's so simple. Just plop them in the trade union, kind of close to these guys, and let them rip. If you have him and you're able to provide what's necessary for these fur coats, you can start selling fur coats en masse because they are very fast and very, very, very good to actually sell. So let's get the industrious over here, deposit every single one of these steel beams, upgrade a little more, and see that lovely members club. Okay, let's go ahead and upgrade these guys. Perfect. As you'll see, you'll notice that you will not see any of the investors up here. So you will actually be able to tell how many investors you have by looking over here at your island population. They're not a workforce. They are just people of whom are, they will spend a lot of money. That is essentially it. So let's go ahead and demolish this old pub, and we're going to hopefully be able to replace it with this members club. We're probably just going to have to move this fire station as well. So just a little bit of restructuring here. Plop this thing down. Fix up the road. He'll be happy because now he has a lovely members club to go and visit, and now they have a second need fulfilled. And right now, the next thing that we're really going to have to focus on is getting our industry off of here because we do not want to see unhappy faces with investors. Very, very basic, a little bit of a rush to explain what these guys are, but ultimately, we will talk about every single individual bit of investors so you guys can 100% see how to grow a settlement and enterprise from this point forward, because this is going to be very, very crucial to your late game expansion, okay? Getting a lot of their luxury needs fulfilled, how to get them done easily, the specialist best suited for those particular needs, and how to make life easier for you, okay? So, until next time, my friends, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting that bell button, sharing it with your friends, and I will catch you on the next episode, my Rantians.